Oh, hi. I didn't quite see you there. Welcome back to our next installment of a Keeper reaction to Housing Complex C. Now, what is a Keeper, you might ask? That means I, a Keeper of Arcane lore, run a game called Call of Cthulhu, which also means that I know many of the things about Cthulhu and all of his matters, as you can see in this book right here. Oh, would you look at that? There's a lizard person and a servitor of the outer gods. But also I am deeply familiarized with the lore. Now, you might be asking yourself, Ben, why are you wearing a funny hat and smoking a pipe? Well, that's because I've been told by the betters at the channel that I need to be nicer to you all when asking for subscribers. So, to soften the blow, I have decided to wear a funny hat and smoke a pipe. Now, last episode, you did not free the Queen of England, so she lives on the shelf now, forever, and she's never coming back. You did this by not subscribing. Now, for this episode, I'll show you who our next hostage is. This is my family's cat, Spike. He's a total goofball. I love him a lot. He pees on things, so he's not really allowed near any of the filming equipment. But yeah, you know, he's just a good little dude. And I was gonna originally threaten it with him with something eldritch, but he's too cute. So I guess if you don't subscribe, you just won't see him again on this channel. Yeah, I think that's a good threat. So with that aside now, I don't think I need this funny hat anymore. Yep. Let's begin our next episode of Housing Complex C. Hey everyone, Ben here, offering a quick correction. Last couple episodes I had been referring to the native people displayed in the flashbacks as potentially Egyptian based off of some of the headdresses and costuming. However, since then it has come to my attention that these are actually the native people of Japan before colonization. So do with that information what you will. I hope this correction was informative. Whoa! Whoa. Did we just go back in time? We just went back in time. This is real bad. So we just saw time. Time is very specific to one god. Yogi. Yog-Sothoth. We actually get Kimi's actual god. Or at least the interpretation. So space and time. This specifically ties to one god in particular. Yog-Sothoth. Now, Yog-Sothoth is the only god that is noted as his main thing to be essentially a time god. He's the only god that's noted as being able to sort of shift through different realities, different dimensions, and different times. He's also, interestingly enough, the one god that wizards have been known to partake with in order to get additional powers. There's a great story called The Dunwich Horror in which Yog-Sothoth, he mates with the daughter of a wizard for the wizard to gain power, and then you end up with the offspring of Yog-Sothoth. He had twins. I'm not going to give away too much of what was going on in that story. You should read it. Okay, now the pronunciation that's used here for what deity Kimi actually is phonetically close to Yog-Sothoth. So, and this is a common thing that you will notice, and this happens in the end of the episode as well. Pronunciations within the Cthulhu mythos should always be somewhat divergent or slightly different than whatever they are working towards. So the idea here is that anytime there's a pronunciation of a god, it should be utterly unpronounceable, and the information that you, the audience, should be getting should be difficult to decipher. The thing with the pronunciations is that you can kind of go any direction with them, and sometimes they will be used as red herrings. Now, Cthulhu for Cthulhu, that works. We understand that that's what's happening. Now, I believe there is some... I'm not even quite sure if Cthulhu and Cthulhu are the same thing by the end of this episode. However, the pronunciation that we're getting here is a variation of the pronunciation for Yog-Sothoth.
From another world.
Of course, the fucking anime girl
My
fan.
confidence comes from the proof I found of this god's miracles. I can only pray it makes the right decision.
Oh my god. So this is the one thing that it's trying to do Lovecraftian right here, is the idea of descending into madness from understanding the basic concept. This is also the reason why adapting Lovecraft is so fucking hard. Lovecraftian versus cosmic horror is a really important distinction to make here. So cosmic horror is anything spooky with big tentacle monsters and sometimes sea monsters. and it implies that there's greater knowledge outside of the universe and the fear of the unknown. That's what it's pulling off of. Lovecraftian, however, pulls from the idea of even knowing something about the true reality of our world is enough to drive you insane. That the people that can even fathom this and could even be of help against stopping the Mythos are so far fucking gone that they are useless and actively working against you. And even in order to try and get into that sort of world and be able to fight back against the Mythos is going to drive you into insanity itself. So yeah, very, very fucked. This one scene here of him going mad as he sees this, even though everything that he describes to us is perfectly plain and nonsensical, I don't think it really lands as well as it would if you were reading it and your mind was filling in the gaps. But again, this is the problem with Lovecraftian media and adapting it. I think the only time that I've seen this done well was maybe The Color Out of Space, but that's less about knowing the information and more about the thing that is causing corruption getting inside your head and causing you to go insane. Fuck. This is actually crazy. Whoa. We have an actual... So, God in human form, and you got knifed and turned into... Oh, no, just straight up knifed. Because Dad is evil. Yep. Nope. That checks.
If something really scary happens, please read the words.
A good God? Oh, no. That's a lot of bodies of moss. Everyone's getting turned into moss. Except for the fact that he's a big, strong man. So hopefully he was able to... They don't turn them into moss. Kimi does. We've learned something. Okay. The opening line of "Don't you hurt my daughter" makes a lot of sense. Yuri did it with strength. What are they? Ah. What did she turn into moss that quickly? What did he read on the note? Okay, we have Cultist. And they have their own god. But they're Cthulhu Cultist. It adds up a little bit. How did you get there? We needed way more character development for these guys. I'm sorry. There we go, Khan. Yeah, do the thing. Yes. They are repelled by it. That is the classic punch him with the Elder Sign. Okay, the Elder Sign being used as a form of protection against the family here. I feel like we needed more development on what these guys were, because it feels like by the end of episode 2 and then episode 3, we understand that they are bad news of some sorts. We do not understand all the specifics, but they're clearly not good. Now, we could have used a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff. I think that mystery was a little ruined for us, and it would be lovely to know if they were just human cultists, if the dad was oddly enough the one that, like, may have been a monster. But the way that the Elder Sign interacts with them is a repellent. And this might be insinuating that followers of certain gods may be repelled by the Elder Sign itself. It may also just imply that they are monsters, or it may imply that Khan was casting a rudimentary spell off of it. All these things are valid. Again, it's a very soft system, and any writer is free to do whatever they want with it without it really breaking canon. Because, again, Cthulhu Mythos is not about canon, it is about tools for writers. And now we're getting back to this part.
No one else will hurt.
Oh, she's got the Cthulhu dagger. Okay. So Kimi's not incredibly powerful as a god. We've seen our Yog-Sothoth tie. What are we climbing into? Why is it made of bones? Homegirl, you're about to walk into something way worse than any of that. Kimi can bend space-time.
What the hell?
Did you just pour your mom on her?
Alright, I'm done.
Okay, I was a little too stunned to speak on this, so I'm going back and recording it. Yeah, clearly that is not Shevnigroth, which is the previous going on theory that we were having. I still do believe that design influence-wise, the fact that it is bio and plant-like was the obvious interpretation of what this might be. Shevnigroth has a common motif of being like a plant or like a tree, while also having fleshy pieces to it, which is normally what you would look for her in the god of fertility when looking for any sort of sign. And the fact that it shows up as a fetus is a pretty close piece to this. However, this show is full of so many red herrings as to what the god might be that it was just that, a pretty good red herring. That's my defense for believing in it. Oh. They were repelled by elder signs, so whatever they were something else. Oh god.
I found it very stimulating. Stupidity is expected.
This is...
Those fish people who expect me to resurrect my scions simply because they worship me.
This show did a great job placing several red herrings that it made it difficult for me to keep up with what was going on. It appears here that the sacrificial Cthulhu dagger that Yuri's family had is symbolic of who they were worshipping, and yes, Cthulhu is a lesser god. As a matter of fact, as far as the way that you would kind of rank gods, again, this is in general a bad idea, but they're clearly using this hierarchy here, is that Cthulhu is on the lower end. He's considered a great old one. And great old ones are less godlike and more just rare species that hold a lot of power. They are ultimately killable. They ultimately do go to sleep, but that's there. And the deep ones have been placed here as just a red herring for us trying to figure out what's actually going on. And the same thing can be said with the Mother Note that happened that had some potential tie-ins to Shevnigroth and all the other things that's happening with Yuri. Oh, what are we doing?
Senselessly clean.
Jesus Christ.
And with that,
Wow. Yog-Sothoth. What did you just do? Wow. The Elder Sign rock fades away. And then right here at the end of this episode, when we're getting Yuri's true identity, we are getting a pronunciation that is similar to Yog-Sothoth, as well as what Khan says to get him out, using that Elder Sign as a form of protection. Now, Khan, not a Deep One hybrid. They drew him like this, though, and made him weird looking, specifically as a red herring, which was honestly phenomenal for this show. I genuinely really did enjoy the way that I was kind of playing with them, and the way that they initially casted him in a negative light made us initially suspicious of him and wondering where things were going to go. Done excellently. That's still there. And the bubbles are a great giveaway. Fuck. My final thing for Yuri and this Yog-Sothoth moment. The bubbles were there the entire time, and honestly, kind of a really fun hint as to her true identity. So the thing with Yog-Sothoth's canonical appearance in Lovecraft's work and other people who've adapted it is they are just a coagulation of a bunch of spheres that can grow to any size and shape that they want. And what it actually is they are getting bigger because they are slipping through the fourth dimension as they are moving. And thus the way that out you can see, as if you've ever seen a scan of a person as a 2D image, like a CAT scan or something, and the way that they sort of shift in and out, that's what they are. Except for us, because it's a fifth dimensional being moving through the fourth dimension. Actually, it's a sixth dimensional being moving through the fourth and fifth dimension. That's what we perceive it as. Now, this clearly, she's doing her own thing. She's taken on a third and fourth dimensional form in order to just sort of exist within this, and then has total control over the third and fourth dimension and can just teleport things and bend space and time in reality and turn things into moss. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, these bubbles are directly tied to the character's original concept, so that's pretty cool foreshadowing. I kind of love that. Overall, as far as this anime is concerned, I will say seeing something in the Cthulhu mythos being brought to light and a new interpretation of Yog-Sothoth, of all things with personality, I rather enjoyed this. Yeah, this is a good Lovecraftian anime adaptation. I loved this. This is what it needed. This is what I wanted. It kept me guessing. It even kept me going with the red herrings. I was fully convinced that Khan had some Deep One ties. We saw Deep Ones there. He has Deep One hybrid design to him. And I initially thought that this was going to be just a strictly Cthulhu-based story. But they really did throw us all for a loop, kept it going into the higher sort of Elder Outer Gods territory, and overall, it was an enjoyable experience. Now, if I have one thing, I would have loved some more development on the baddie side, but we only had 4 episodes. Now, there were 5 weeks of October, so they could have done another, but that's their choice, I guess. Just like how it's your choice to like and subscribe, or
you won't get to see this video.
H.P. Lovecraft, the author of today's tale, feared the universe.